Welcome back to Two Converts. I'm Rusty, and my good buddy who's normally with me, Jason, he had a scheduling conflict tonight, so he won't be with us. Now, both Jason and I are converts to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I had an atheist slash Protestant background. Jason had a deep Jewish background, and if you want to learn more about our conversion stories, you can check in the description below to see those links. Now, when we joined the church in high school, both of us did, separate states. We never looked back. We love learning, living, and sharing the gospel, which is why we do this channel. So if you were looking for undermining or skeptical content about the church, you're going to have to go elsewhere. That's not how we roll. We found the truth. We love it. We're all in. And that brings us to my point here of the two reasons we do, or our 2 point purpose for this channel, is we want to help those of you that are investigating the church know that you have found the truth. It's here. Both Jason and I had to join from the outside, go through that conversion experience, and we want to provide insights and help that we went through as we went through that process. And for those of you that are already converts, meaning already members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we want to remind you, you have the truth. You have found it. You're in the right place. And we want to help further ignite or reignite your testimony and deepen your conversion to the gospel. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a shorter video today. We've got a couple points to cover in Doctrine and Covenants section 10 and 11. Before I do that, though, real quick, if you guys are interested in the channel, if you like what you hear, please help us out. Go ahead and subscribe. That helps us get more visible in the algorithm and share this message with more people. Also, be sure to comment below. Your comments, your insights, man, we've had some great ones recently, can help people find the information they're looking for, maybe give them that piece or that insight they need to further their own conversion. So, with that said, let's go ahead and hop into Doctrine and Covenants, section 10, and a few main points. So, section 10 of the Doctrine and Covenants, this is the Lord speaking to Joseph Smith after these 106 manuscript pages were lost from the Book of Mormon. There was some chastisement there, there was some advice there, and there was a message of encouragement. But what I really want to focus on here is what's very relevant to you and me and everybody else in this day and age. Now, the lesson title, if you're following along and come follow me, is that you may come off conqueror. And in verse 5 and 6, this is what this is pulling from. Now, here's a question to consider. How is the adversary seeking to destroy you? Verse 5, pray always that you may come off conqueror. Yea, that you may conquer Satan, and that you may escape the hands of the servants of Satan that do uphold his work. Behold, they have sought to destroy you, yea, even the man in whom you have trusted has sought to destroy you. What I'd love for you to consider and think about is how are you vulnerable? Where are your vulnerabilities? Because this is something, boy, I want to tell you this from a convert perspective. The adversary, this fight between good and light is real. And more people are waking up to this fact that this isn't just a moral story about, loosely good versus evil. No, there is a God and there is a devil and there is a fight that we are all engaged in. I think of the wars of, or the words of Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings when he's talking to the king of the Rohirrim and he says, war is upon you, whether you'd wish it or not, or whether you choose it or not. That's the situation we're in. We are in a war and it is serious. And if you have vulnerabilities, examine them and pray for the help that you need to strengthen yourself against those. Now, the Lord goes on to explain after these verses how these wicked people took these stolen manuscript pages, altered them, with the plan being that when Joseph Smith retranslated those pages, that they could produce a altered copy and show that there were discrepancies with the idea that they would point out and be able to prove that Joseph Smith was a fraud. The Lord knew this would happen, detected that, and he had a plan. Now let's move into verse 19 through 22 and really consider this. Now, if you're new to the channel, sometimes we throw out some really neat kind of insights, archaeological, whatever, maybe even words. Both Jason and I studied Hebrew. He obviously has a deeper background. So we get into some of that. But both he and I are really about the doctrine and how does it impact our behavior and how does it help us live a happier life, right? That's the purpose of all of this, right? Is we're all looking for happiness. And fortunately, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is the way. Quoting movies again, or shows at least, this is the way. And that comes from Isaiah. Also, 2nd Nephi 31 says this is the way. Here's the question. Why does the world fight so hard against truth? All right, 19 through 22. And this is the words of the wicked people who translated this, and the Lord is basically quoting them what they would be thinking. Verse 19, therefore, we will destroy him, meaning Joseph Smith, and also the work, the restoration of the true church of Jesus Christ. And we will do this that we may not be ashamed in the end. Interesting phrase. And that we may get glory of the world. Verily, verily, I say unto you that Satan has great hold upon their hearts. He stirreth them up to do iniquity against that which is good, and their hearts are corrupt and full of wickedness and abominations, and they love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. Therefore they will not ask of me. Satan stirreth them up that he may lead their souls to destruction. So again, that question, why does the world fight so hard against the truth? Now, I want to re-emphasize this point that whether you want it or not, you are locked in a battle. You are locked in a fight with eternal consequences. And I want to draw maybe a little comparison to something you may have experience with. Maybe in your life, at some point, you've had a peer in school or something that just for some reason couldn't stand you. They hated your guts. Or maybe it was the other way around. Maybe it was you and you've repented. But it's like you could feel this person just boring holes into you of hate and resentment and jealousy. And where did that come from? Maybe a misunderstanding or whatever, but you can just feel that animosity, and they're looking for any crack, any chink in your armor that they can get at you with their little plans for the intent that to get even with you, or maybe if we're comparing it to the adversary, to make you miserable. Because that is his stated objective, is he is trying to make us miserable. And he is constantly, he and his minions are constantly looking for the chinks in your armor, for the vulnerable spots, for the just the right time, the right down moment to get in there and pierce you in a way to lead you out and make you miserable. If you can understand when you're in these circumstances what's actually going on, that it's not just, random circumstances. Sometimes it may be that, but if you recognize that there is really somebody out there to get you, right? There's that saying about paranoia. Just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean that nobody's out to get me, right? It's the same thing, right? So understand he is out to get you constantly. So recognize where those evil influences are coming from, and that can help you prepare against those, to brace against those. And I want to read you, this is, and we'll wrap up with this because I wanted to keep this shorter, and you guys can obviously continue this with your Come Follow Me study. These are some wonderful, wonderful verses of prophecy from the prophet Nephi in the Book of Mormon. Now, this is 2nd Nephi 28, and we're going to read 20 through 25 and then verse 28. Now, listen for similarities to what we just learned in the Doctrine and Covenants. Verse 20, for behold, at that day, our day, he, the devil, shall rage in the hearts of the children of men and stir them up to anger against that which is good. Again, there's that consistency of language. Verse 21, and others will he pacify. And now I'm speaking more to members to be on guard, okay? Because remember, I came from the outside. I came from the outside in. And so I might have been inherently a little more on guard. And I think it's easy for members to become a little more comfortable. But listen closely, verse 21. And others will he pacify and lull them away into carnal security, that they will say, all is well in Zion. Yea, Zion prospereth. All is well. And thus the devil cheateth their souls and leadeth them away carefully down to hell. Verse 22, and behold, others he flattereth away, and telleth them, there is no hell. And he saith unto them, I am no devil, for there is none. And thus he whispereth in their ears until he grasps them with his awful chains from whence there is no deliverance. Yea, they are grasped with death and death and hell and the devil, and all that have been seized therewith must stand before the throne of God and be judged according to their works, from whence they must go into the place prepared for them, even a lake of fire and brimstone, which is endless torment. Therefore, woe be unto him that is at ease in Zion. Woe be unto him that crieth, all is well. We are supposed to warn and admonish each other, guys. This is what we're supposed to do. This is very much a warning. I'm going to take it personally. I hope you do too. Are we at ease in Zion? Have we gotten too complacent? Have we let our guard down and the devil's very carefully getting his little tendrils around us, his little flaxen cords? Are we allowing that? Are we being too sedentary and enabling this creep of chains that are grasping us? We got to wake up, shake that off, and make sure that we're being diligent in all these things because the fight is real, guys. And this is what I want to get to another point. Okay, verse 28. And in fine, woe unto all those who tremble and are angry because of the truth of God. Are you angry because of truth when somebody confronts you with something that's true? Does that bother you? Do you rebel against that? Do you chafe against that? That's a problem if that's happening. For behold, he that is built upon the rock receiveth it with gladness, and he that is built upon a sandy foundation trembleth lest he shall fall. Now, that again should make us think what we just read there in section 10 of the Doctrine and Covenants in verse 19, that these wicked people who tried to alter the truth, it said, because that we may not be ashamed in the end. So I will say this, coming from the outside, I didn't know what I was talking about. Maybe I pretended about it when I made or pretended it when I made fun of members of the church or whatever, but I didn't really know. It takes really living it, understanding it, honestly reading the Book of Mormon, and when your eyes open, you can see it, the reality of it. But man, when we're living in the world and we're just grasping in darkness, we do anything that we can to prop ourselves up, to make it seem like we're okay, or to think that we're sneaky and we're getting away with the evil deeds that we're doing. But the gospel just poof turns the lights on and there's nowhere to hide anymore. And that freaks out most of the world. They don't like it. They want to go their own way and they don't want to submit to the Lord's plan. And the sad, sad irony of that is that's the only place to find real and lasting happiness. And in section 11 of the Doctrine and Covenants, it talks about this importance of declaring only repentance. And what is that? It's the idea of returning to the Lord to find happiness. But man, we just insist, us creatures, we just insist on living wickedly and trying to justify ourselves and twist the scriptures to make it seem like we're justified in what we're doing. So, anyway, with that, I really want to emphasize this, guys, and I'm going to sign off early. You are engaged in battle. That's the reality of it. And I want you to really, truly consider that. If you have military friends, ask them, what is warfare really like? How much is the adversary really scheming against you? Consider these things. And this is not to make you afraid, because here's again the reality of the situation. Lots of people think this is fear mongering or whatever, but no, you shouldn't be. It should make you less afraid to actually know who your enemy is, because if you are prepared, and here's something that we'll read later in the Doctrine and Covenants in section 38, if you are prepared, then ye shall not fear. But trying to hide your head in the sand and pretending this hasn't happened, that's not a strategy. And all that is hiding from it. And that is a fearful stance versus squaring your shoulders to it, preparing for it, and living as valiantly as you can, understanding that we are all enlisted in the army of God. So I look forward to seeing your comments, guys. So the questions below. Here's a couple other questions to chew on. Does the Book of Mormon prove the Bible false? In Doctrine and Covenants, section 10, verse 52 and 53, you'll find the answer to that. Does the Lord equate other Christian churches with the church of the devil? That's going to be in verse 55 through 56, and then read 1 Nephi 14:10 with that. And finally, this is a good one, and I'm actually going to finish with this. Here's a question. How do we conquer the devil? And in section 10, verse 62 through 63, but I'm just going to read verse 69 on the end of this. And now behold, whoever is of my church and endureth of my church to the end, him will I establish upon my rock, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against him. In other words, they are the ones that will conquer the devil. Now, that may seem harsh, guys, but here's the reality and here's the truth that we proclaim, and it's beautiful. Our Father in heaven is not a God of confusion. He did not sanction the establishment of thousands of different denominations that contend with each other on doctrines in the Bible. That's not what he established. Those are the creations of men. The Lord himself reestablished his one true church in the last days, and this is it. Read the Book of Mormon with an open heart. Honestly pray about it. It does support the Bible. That was a trick question a little bit earlier, but they go hand in hand to establish the truthfulness of the gospel and clear up the contention and confusion that's been around for thousands of years based on people's twisted understandings of the Bible. With that, I invite you guys to continue staying immersed in the scriptures and deepening your conversion. I look forward to seeing you next week. Jason will be with me. Have a great week, guys. We'll see you then.